Imagine walking out to your garden on a quiet, warm summer morning. You have your cup of coffee in hand, the sun is just starting to peek over the horizon, and you are looking forward to checking on the progress of your cucumber plants. For weeks, you have watered them, trellised them, and watched them climb toward the sky, producing bright yellow blossoms that promise a bountiful harvest. But as you bend down to inspect the leaves, your heart sinks. There, scattered across the vibrant green foliage, are tiny, dusty white spots. It looks as though someone lightly dusted your plants with flour. Most gardeners don't know this, but those tiny white spots are actually a ticking clock for your entire harvest. This is the early stage of powdery mildew, one of the most destructive and fast-moving fungal diseases in the vegetable garden. If you ignore it, even for just a few days, those isolated spots will coalesce into a thick, felt-like blanket that covers every single leaf. Within a week, the leaves will begin to turn yellow, curl upward, and eventually dry up like parchment paper. Without healthy leaves to perform photosynthesis, your cucumber plant will stop growing, its blossoms will drop, and any fruit that does manage to develop will be small, bitter, and sunburned. When faced with this sight, the immediate reaction for many gardeners is to run to the nearest home improvement store and buy a chemical fungicide. But here is where the real secret begins. Chemical treatments are a double-edged sword. While they might kill the fungus, they also leave behind chemical residues on the very food you plan to feed your family. Even worse, these synthetic sprays run down into the soil, disrupting the delicate underground ecosystem of beneficial microbes, bacteria, and mycorrhizal fungi that keep your plants strong. Instead of turning to harsh chemicals, seasoned organic gardeners rely on the power of nature to restore balance. Just 10 days ago, a cucumber plant in my own garden began showing these exact same warning signs. Rather than panicking, I turned to a simple, time-tested natural remedy using ingredients you likely already have in your kitchen pantry. What happened next surprised me, and it completely transformed the way I look at disease management in the garden. After just 10 days of applying this natural solution, the spread of the disease stopped dead in its tracks, and the new leaves emerged greener, stronger, and completely free of spots. To understand why this natural remedy works so incredibly well, we first have to understand what we are fighting. Powdery mildew is not caused by a single organism, but rather by a group of closely related fungi that target specific plant families. The species that attacks your cucumbers is highly specialized, and it thrives in conditions that might seem counterintuitive. While most fungi love constant wetness, powdery mildew actually prefers high humidity at night, followed by warm, dry days. When your garden has poor airflow, perhaps because the plants are crowded too closely together, or because they have grown into a dense, tangled jungle, the air around the leaves becomes stagnant. This creates a microclimate of high humidity right at the leaf surface. When night temperatures drop, moisture condenses on the leaves, giving the microscopic fungal spores the perfect environment to germinate. Once the sun comes up and the temperature rises, the spores mature and release millions of new microscopic particles into the wind, ready to infect every neighboring plant. If left uncontrolled, this cycle repeats every few days, rapidly exhausting the plant's energy reserves and leaving you with nothing but bare, withered vines. Before you begin treating your plants, it is crucial to make sure you are actually dealing with powdery mildew and not another common garden issue. Many well-meaning gardeners end up treating their plants for the wrong problem, which can lead to wasted time and further stress on the crop. Most gardeners don't know this, but there is a major difference between powdery mildew and downy mildew, even though their names sound almost identical. Downy mildew is a completely different organism that thrives in wet, cool conditions. Instead of a powdery white dust on top of the leaves, downy mildew causes angular, yellow to brown spots on the upper surface of the leaves, bordered strictly by the leaf veins. If you flip the leaf over, you will see a fuzzy, purplish-gray growth on the underside. Treating downy mildew requires a different approach, which is why proper identification is your first line of defense. Another common mistake is confusing fungal diseases with nutrient deficiencies. For example, when a cucumber plant is suffering from a lack of magnesium, the older leaves will begin to turn yellow between the veins, while the veins themselves remain bright green. This is known as intervenal chlorosis. Unlike powdery mildew, there is no white residue that can be rubbed off with your finger. If your plant is suffering from a nitrogen deficiency, the entire leaf, including the veins, will turn a pale, washed-out yellow, starting from the bottom of the plant and moving upward. When a plant is stressed by a lack of essential nutrients, its cellular structure weakens. The cell walls become thin and fragile, making it incredibly easy for fungal spores to penetrate the leaf surface and establish an infection. This is why a truly successful garden relies on a holistic approach, feeding the soil to keep the plant strong while using targeted natural remedies to protect the foliage. So, how does our natural remedy actually fight off this aggressive fungal invader? The secret lies in the synergistic combination of 3 simple ingredients: cinnamon, baking soda, and organic liquid soap. Each of these ingredients plays a specific, scientifically backed role in disrupting the life cycle of the fungus while supporting the plant's natural defenses. Let us start with cinnamon. To most people, cinnamon is simply a delicious spice used in autumn baking. But to a botanist, cinnamon bark is a powerhouse of natural defense mechanisms. In the wild, cinnamon trees produce a compound called cinnamaldehyde to protect themselves from fungal attacks and insect pests. When we use cinnamon powder in our garden spray, we are harvesting this natural antifungal compound. Cinnamaldehyde works by disrupting the cell membranes of the fungal spores, preventing them from germinating and stopping the spread of the infection to healthy tissue. Next, we have baking soda, or sodium bicarbonate. This household staple is highly alkaline. When dissolved in water and sprayed onto a leaf, it dramatically alters the pH of the leaf surface. Powdery mildew spores require a slightly acidic environment to grow and thrive. By raising the pH and making the leaf surface highly alkaline, baking soda creates an incredibly hostile environment where the fungal spores simply cannot survive. However, here is where a lot of beginner gardeners make a critical mistake. Baking soda contains sodium, which can be toxic to plants in high concentrations. If you use too much, or if you apply it incorrectly, the sodium will draw moisture out of the leaf cells, causing severe chemical burns that look like scorched, crispy edges. This is why using the exact right ratio is the absolute key to success. Now that we understand the science behind how these ingredients work, let us walk through the precise steps to prepare this natural remedy. This is the step many people skip or rush through, only to find that their mixture is either too weak to work or so strong that it damages their precious plants. To begin, you will need a clean container that can hold at least 1 liter of liquid. It is highly recommended to use a container that has been thoroughly washed to ensure there are no chemical residues from previous household cleaners, which could react negatively with our natural ingredients. First, add 500 milliliters of clean water into your container. The water temperature is incredibly important here. You want the water to be at a comfortable room temperature, right around 75 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately 25 degrees Celsius. If the water is too cold, the active compounds in the cinnamon will not dissolve or infuse properly. If the water is too hot, You risk breaking down the delicate organic compounds that make the cinnamon so effective. Next, add exactly 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder to the water. Try to use a high-quality, organic cinnamon if possible, as conventional cinnamon can sometimes be treated with preservatives or diluted with fillers that reduce its effectiveness. Immediately after the cinnamon, add 1 level teaspoon of baking soda. It is very important to use a flat, level teaspoon. Do not use a heaping teaspoon, as that extra amount of sodium bicarbonate can easily cross the threshold from being a safe remedy to causing severe leaf burn. Once both powders are in the water, stir the mixture vigorously for at least 2 minutes. You want to make sure the baking soda is completely dissolved and the cinnamon powder is thoroughly suspended in the liquid. Here is where the real secret begins. Do not spray this mixture onto your plants right away. Instead, you must let the solution sit undisturbed for about 2 hours. During this resting period, a process called maceration takes place. The water acts as a solvent, drawing out the cinnamaldehyde and other beneficial compounds from the cinnamon powder and infusing them directly into the liquid. If you skip this waiting period, you are essentially just spraying cinnamon-scented water onto your plants without getting the full antifungal potency of the spice. After the 2 hours have passed, give the mixture another thorough stir. You will notice that while much of the cinnamon's essence has infused into the water, there are still fine particles of cinnamon bark floating in the liquid. This brings us to a highly critical step that many gardeners overlook: filtration. You must filter this solution before pouring it into your spray bottle. To do this, place a piece of clean, thin cloth, a fine mesh strainer, or even a paper coffee filter over a second container, and slowly pour the mixture through. If you do not filter the liquid, those tiny, undissolved cinnamon particles will instantly clog the delicate mechanism of your spray nozzle. This will result in an uneven, spluttering spray pattern, or worse, a completely ruined spray bottle. Furthermore, large clumps of cinnamon left on the leaf surface can trap moisture and actually create a localized microclimate that encourages other types of mold to grow. Once you have a beautifully filtered golden brown liquid, it is time to add the final active ingredient: 1 teaspoon of liquid organic soap. It is best to use a pure Castile soap, which is made from plant oils and contains no synthetic fragrances, dyes, or harsh detergents. Most gardeners don't know this, but the soap is not actually there to kill the fungus. Instead, the soap acts as a surfactant, or what gardeners call a sticker spreader. Cucumber leaves have a natural, waxy cuticle covered in microscopic hairs designed to repel water. If you spray plain water onto a cucumber leaf, it will simply bead up into droplets and roll right off, leaving the plant untreated. The soap breaks the surface tension of the water, allowing our infused solution to spread out in a thin, uniform sheet across the entire leaf surface, ensuring that every square millimeter of the infected area is treated. Finally, add another 500 milliliters of clean water to the mixture. This dilutes the concentration of both the baking soda and the soap, bringing the total volume to 1 liter. This dilution is critical because it ensures the solution is gentle enough for daily use on sensitive vegetable leaves while remaining highly toxic to the fungal spores. Stir the completed mixture gently one last time. Pour it into your spray bottle and prepare for application. With your freshly prepared natural fungicide ready to go, the next step is applying it to your plants. But before you head out to the garden, there are 2 incredibly important rules you must follow if you want to avoid damaging your crops. First, never spray your plants during the intense heat of the midday sun. When the sun is high and temperatures are peaking, the leaves of your cucumber plants are already under heat stress. If you apply the spray at this time, The water droplets on the leaves will act like tiny magnifying glasses, focusing the sun's rays and causing severe sunburn. Furthermore, the high heat will cause the water in the solution to evaporate almost instantly. This leaves behind a highly concentrated crust of baking soda and soap on the leaf surface, which will quickly chemical burn the delicate plant tissue. The absolute best time to apply your spray is in the early morning, just as the morning dew is starting to evaporate, or in the cool of the late afternoon when the sun is low in the sky. This gives the solution plenty of time to sit on the leaves in liquid form, allowing the active ingredients to do their job of neutralizing the fungus before the water naturally evaporates. Second, do not make the mistake of only spraying the top surfaces of the leaves. Powdery mildew is a sneaky pathogen. It often begins its life cycle in the shaded, humid microclimate, on the undersides of the leaves, and along the stems, where it is protected from direct sunlight and wind. When you spray, you must be thorough. Gently lift the leaves and spray the undersides until they are dripping wet. Coat the leaf stems, the main vines, and even the surrounding soil where fallen spores might be waiting to reinfect the plant. You want to ensure complete 365-degree coverage of the entire plant. The results became visible just days after I applied this treatment to my own infected cucumber plant. Within the first 24 hours, the active fungal patches began to lose their bright white powdery appearance, turning a dull, flat gray. This is a clear sign that the baking soda has successfully altered the pH of the leaf surface, and the cinnamon compounds have disrupted the fungal cells, halting their growth. By day 5, the spread of the disease had completely stopped. No new white spots were appearing, and the existing patches had withered away. By day 10, the true magic of this natural remedy was fully on display. The cucumber plant, freed from the burden of fighting off a massive fungal infection, redirected its energy toward new growth. The new leaves emerging from the growing tips were a deep, vibrant green, thick, and incredibly healthy. The plant began to bloom again, and within a few weeks, I was harvesting crisp, sweet, perfectly formed cucumbers. If you have plants that are severely infected, where more than half of the leaf surface is already covered in a thick white crust, it is highly recommended to take one extra step before spraying. Take a pair of sharp, clean pruning shears and carefully remove those heavily damaged leaves. These leaves are already too damaged to perform photosynthesis effectively, and they act as a massive reservoir of fungal spores. Removing them immediately reduces the pest pressure on your plant and greatly improves airflow through the garden canopy. Just remember to dip your pruning shears in rubbing alcohol between cuts so you do not accidentally transfer the fungal spores to healthy parts of the plant. This natural, organic remedy is a game-changer for anyone looking to grow food safely, sustainably, and cheaply. It is a beautiful reminder that we do not need expensive, chemical-heavy solutions to solve common garden problems. Nature has already provided us with all the tools we need. We just have to learn how to use them correctly. I would love to hear about your experience with this method. Have you ever battled powdery mildew in your garden? What natural remedies have worked best for you? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this guide helpful and want to learn more practical, deep-dive organic gardening secrets to help your backyard thrive, make sure to hit that subscribe button and share this with your fellow gardeners. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and happy gardening.